Hello, Kel67 Gaming here, back again with another favourite 5 list. This time I'm going back to my childhood and letting you know my favourite 5 games for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. In common with quite a number of kids from the UK in the 80s, the soundtrack of my childhood was the data loading off the audio cassette of a ZX Spectrum. The games were plentiful, the games were cheap, and everyone had a Spectrum, it seemed. I was obviously no different. There was certainly hardware limitations. It was the original Spectrum only had 48k of memory, and the entire game had to be loaded into that. Although there were some games that utilised the ZX Spectrum Plus, Plus 2 and Plus 3's 128k of memory. There were few and far between, because obviously if you're a software house, you're looking to make the most sales that you can on any game that you put out, and to not cater to the 48k market was just something that people weren't prepared to do. But it's a very well loved and very fondly remembered machine, and I'm going to take you through the games that I liked most on the system. Now there's going to be some big games that's not on here. Whittling down the Spectrum library to just 5 games it's a thankless task. There must have been, tens of thousands of games released for that. There's still games being released for it now. So whittling it down was very difficult. So this isn't necessarily the best games, it's just the ones that, as a child growing up with this system, this is the games that I spent the most time with. So without further ado, we'll go straight for my 5th favourite game on the ZX Spectrum. So this one is Datasoft and US Gold's Bruce Lee game. As you can see there, it is a single screen beat 'em up platformer where you collect lanterns and you've got the 2 enemies that keep respawning, sumo guy and the guy with the stick, who are constantly chasing you. It's a very simple game, most of these Spectrum games are, but incredibly engaging. And what you have to remember as well is that at the time that this came out, so we're talking, oh god, well, 83, 84 I think, you cannot overestimate just how popular Bruce Lee was at that time. We all wanted to be Bruce Lee, and his movies were everywhere. This was about the same time as top loading video players came out, so they had Betamax or whether you had VHS, you were renting Bruce Lee films. Excellent game, this one, heavily nostalgic for myself, and that's why it makes number 5 on my list. And now we go on to number 4. on my list of my favourite ZX Spectrum games. Now I decided, because I'd already chosen Daley Thompson's Decathlon to be in my favourite 5 games in my physical collection overall, decided to exclude it from this list. However, the Daley Thompson games were such a huge part of my life growing up. These are games that friends got together and played each other at, so I had to pick this one. This is Daley Thompson's Super Test. The little bit of gameplay that you saw there was the pistol shooting. There was also cycling, springboard diving, there was penalty shootouts, tug of war, a lot of canoeing as well, I seem to remember. This was a great game to play with your friends. The limitations on the Spectrum meant that you only played one-on-one, but you know, it was a great game, and lots of arguments settled over a game of Daley Thompson's Super Test. So that's why it's my number 4 on this list. Which means, keep going forward, that the next one must be my 3rd favourite game for the ZX Spectrum. As a kid growing up, I absolutely adored football games, and there was always going to be one on this list. Could easily have been Match Day 2 or Football Manager. It could also have been Super Soccer. There was a lot of very good games out there. However, I've decided to plump for this one. I think this was my favourite overall. It's a later release for the Spectrum. I think we were in about 87, 88 by the time this came out. It's Emlyn Hughes International Soccer. A very strange person to get a licensed game from. Emlyn Hughes, although he had played for Liverpool in the 70s, he didn't go into football management or coaching or anything like that. Although he was a television personality, he was on Question of Sport at the time, but wasn't really known as a footballer. But despite that, Oleogenic put a great game together, and one that I wouldn't even like to hazard a guess at how much time I put into it over the years. So that was my 3rd favourite game, which means that very quickly we've got to my 2nd favourite game for the ZX Spectrum. Well, another thing that I remember very clearly as a child was during the early 80s, Saturday afternoon, ITV, World of Sport Wrestling, and everyone watched it, and we saw, you know, Giant Haystacks, Mick McManus, Rollerball Rocco, Big Daddy. This was a massive thing. Apparently they're bringing it back. It'll never be as big as it was back in the day, but there you go. But what that did create was a want, certainly from myself, for a wrestling game. And this one certainly hit the mark. This is Rock and Wrestle. You'll notice that it's not got any license on it at all. These are just random guys with seemingly different hats on. But actually, as a wrestling engine, it was just the best thing that there was. It was a good number of moves. Unlike a lot of wrestling, and I'm even going into the early WWF games on the NES, and this was a proper wrestling engine where you done proper moves, you climbed up, done moves off the top rope, you sent your opponent into the ropes, all that sort of thing. It was just a great game. And quite rightly, because of the amount of time that I put into it, it's my second favourite game for the ZX Spectrum. Which means we're here at the main event, and there's still tens of thousands of games for you to guess which one it might be. But you don't have to guess any longer, because this is my favourite game for the ZX Spectrum. So this is a game that I'm not sure that there's been anything like it since. Well, up until I suppose Rockstar released Bully, or Canis Canem Edit, whatever you want to call it, a school sim. As it goes, this one is a lot more dated, and it's UK centric. The guy that programmed this obviously went to school in the 1970s, so that's kind of the era that we're going at. When I went to school during the 80s, things hadn't moved on much at all, so it was very familiar to me. What I really liked about this game growing up is that you could change the names of all the characters. You went through the cast of characters, changed all the names. So as I was growing up, throughout years and years, because I played this game off and on for many years. I would change the cast of characters' names. Obviously, myself always the hero, but I'd also put my my classmates' names in as the classmates on the game. I had my teachers' names as the names of the teachers, and obviously the headmaster's name. And it's such a simple thing, but that was something that really drew you into it even further. The game itself, there's not a whole lot to it. You've got to obviously hit all the shields. I have to say, playing through it, I remember just playing hours and hours without even worrying about the shields at all, and just, you know, getting into fights in the playground, and trying to avoid the teachers while you're skipping class and this sort of thing. It was just, especially when playing it as a school kid, it was just a great game. And that's my favourite game. And that's also my list. Now, no one's going to agree with this list. There's just too many games out for the spectrum. You can't possibly agree that these 5 are the best 5 games on the system. There's some very big hitters there. I haven't picked out Manic Miner or Attic Attack. I just never really got into those games that much. I mean, I did play them, but you know, there's no Chuckie Egg. Actually, I really loved Chuckie Egg, but I prefer Bruce Lee for that style of single screen platformer, just by personal opinion. So, if you have games that you think I should have put in there, let me know in the comments below. Definitely be interested to learn. There's so many games on this system that I probably haven't even scratched the surface of the library that was available. Although I have played an awful lot of games for it. And also, if you've made it this far, please like the video. You've stuck with it for quite a while now, so must have been something here that you liked. And it would certainly help a lot if you would leave a like on the video. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. As well as doing these favourite 5 lists, we also do gameplay of older games. Give it a try, see what you like. Please subscribe. And hit the bell if you want to know when we upload videos. Try to be fairly regular with when we upload. Tends to be weekdays around about 6:30 GMT. And most importantly, keep gaming.